Oh, so we got Scott Jarus with Mac here. You're going to tell us a few things about what kind of animal we're looking at.
So we got the sea lions here. You know, everybody comes to see the sea lions. A lot of times here at the St. Louis Zoo, they come to see the sea lion feedings and or the sea lion show that they've got here. Very smart animals and all. But yeah, there's some great design features, Scott, with them that are, in my mind, just indisputably the hand of God.
Sure.
What you have here. You know, so I'm a mechanical engineer by degree. And so what do you think about when you think about design of something?
It has intelligence. There's the mechanisms that all make sense that one can't have the other.
Right.
Function.
They work together, right? You know, there's going to be some of those pieces, right? And all. So there's some things like that. The other thing I would say is that, you know, that there's anybody can, in a way, a lot of people can design a car, but like in a race car, which car is going to win, right? So you say the fastest one, and how's it going to be the fastest one? It's going to be the fastest one by being the most efficient.
Sure.
Yeah. So efficiency is really a sign of great wisdom.
Okay.
So when we see efficiency in animals and things like that, you sit there and you say, "Oh, come on," right? And then a mindless, random process is not going to design something so incredibly efficient.
Okay. So can you tell us some of the efficiencies that we see in seals?
Yeah. So if you kind of watch them and everything, that they're well known for what? To be able to swim, right? You know, and the way that they do that. So they've got their fins. This is like a California sea lion. Out there is a seal. There's just differences. Sea lions have got, you know, these ear flaps. Seals don't have the ear flaps. They've got an ear, but they don't have the ear flaps and everything like this. And then of course you've got the walruses. Okay, so you've got something like a walrus like this, but they are so a walrus can weigh up to 3,500 pounds. Okay.
Are those? We're talking about all the same family.
So all in the range of pinnipeds, what they call the pinniped family. Pinniped means feathered feet.
Okay.
So you can kind of see that their feet look a little bit feathered, and everything like that. And so that's what they swim, right? Powerful strokes that they have there. And in fact, here, so one thing that you know as well is when we steal designs from them. You've heard about that, the biomimicry, as we call it, in engineering. So they're actually studying sea lions because they have got this way in which they thrust themselves and move forward very fast, but they cause very little weight behind them. And they're just like, how do they do that? We don't know how to do that. So they're saying that's a very efficient design from that standpoint. So they're studying sea lions to figure out how to do that. And isn't that interesting?
That is interesting. Right? Well, I mean, we naturally have to steal everything because birds fly. We want to fly, so we got to steal the design.
Right.
And it's a design that we're stealing. It's not some random things put together. It's designed in a specific way.
Right. So you've got things like that and everything like that. So again, they're dangerous. You say they're dangerous. 3,500 pounds, right? He's the one with the famous tusk. 3,500 pounds, so almost 2 tons.
That's like a rhino, right?
Yeah, but that's not the heaviest. That's not the heaviest sea lion. Okay, seal. What's the heaviest pinniped would be the northern elephant seal. How does that sound?
Bigger.
8,000 pounds.
Wow.
Maximum.
That's an incredible photo.
Okay. So this is 8,000 pounds, and look at the size of him, right? Yeah.
That kind of looks like me if I actually was left out there for trying to sing that time he was.
And so this is when I point to the audience and I would say, you notice there's the wife is off to the side going, get away, right? It's just like you're not going to find women coming up this close to an animal like that, right? That's going to be the guys, right? Taking the risk. But that's how big that they can get. So they're incredible from that standpoint. Thing I usually ask my audience is okay, if you're going to be swimming underneath the water a lot and you go to the pool for the summer, what are you going to need when you go swimming?
Well, sunscreen, goggles, flippers, all the things that looks like maybe you're going to say that they already have.
right? And when you go underneath the water, I kind of talk to them and say, okay, so when you go underneath the water, you like getting water up your nose? Do you like that? No. So a lot of times you're going to want to have nose clips, right? And have that too. So they've got all that built in. So their eyes, they've got another nictating membrane that comes down. So they've got two eyelids that come down.
It's like a little film.
One is a little film, and that's common in a lot of animals. So we got that in the big cats as well, and some other animals like that as well. But isn't that? I mean, how would you come up with that, right?
You wouldn't. Yeah.
Birds have got that, right? And you think about that, right? When we go flying, what you see in those old pictures, they put the goggles on. You know, and I always tell the audience, I go, do you see the birds running around with their goggles? Oh, we got to put on the goggles. And it's just like, no, it's built in.
That's incredible. Well, I'm looking at whiskers. We got whiskers. Are those similar to cat whiskers? Do they have the same sensory?
Yeah. So they are able to do that as well. Because if you imagine them swimming down underneath the water, it getting dark and stuff like this. So that helps them and need to be able to know if there's something close to them that they can grab. So another thing is that, all right, so when you go underwater, you either hold your nose or you put a clip on and right? So they actually have muscles that can close their nose. You see how his nose is closed? You try that. I see you trying that. I know.
It's hard.
It is. I found a couple of people that actually say, no, I can do that. And I'm just like, yeah, but try to hold it.
For how long? Yeah.
Right. They're doing it with vacuum.
30 minutes.
He's doing it just with muscles. He's got that. All right.
It's just probably instinctual, like walking for them. As soon as they go under, it just...
I'll tell you how instinctual it is, okay? If you notice, he's not underwater at this point.
No?
Why would he have his nose closed?
He's probably going on. He's preparing to go underwater, right? Or he just came back up.
Here's the deal. His nose is naturally closed. He actually has muscles that actually open.
Seriously.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So the efficiency of that is that when you're swimming underneath the water, you are not expending energy trying to go, I gotta hold my nose, I gotta hold my nose. You just relax. And
That's cool. That's really cool. I
Is it?
didn't know that.
Yeah. So how long can you hold your breath when you go underneath the water? There, Scott.
Well, if I'm in really good shape, maybe 3 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
If I'm practicing.
you got Jackson, you got a time
practice.
Not
anymore.
3 minutes. How long do you think a sea lion can stay?
I said earlier, my son Jackson, we guessed 30 minutes, but that seems maybe we're not doing it justice.
Okay. So indeed, it's about there's like an average around 20 minutes
Wow.
that they can go underneath the water and hold. But now there's the wet L seal. So but there is a wet L seal that can hold his breath for underwater for more than an hour, for more than 60 minutes. Wow. It's like 80 minutes that he can swim underneath the water without coming up.
They obviously their bodies can hold oxygen longer.
Okay, so this is an interesting thing. This is one of the things I find so interesting with them is that when they go down underneath the water, what's the last thing you do before you go down underneath the water, Scott? What do you last
Take a big deep breath.
You're going to take a big deep breath, right? And what they do before they go down underneath the water is they breathe everything out, and then they go underneath the water.
How does that work?
You look at me. That's my audience is. He's just like, really? What? So right, if they're filled with air, what's that going to make them?
Lighter.
It's going to make them buoyant.
Yeah, lighter.
But if you watch these guys, they are effortlessly skimming through there. You or I in there, we are needing to swim and keep ourselves on air. But they are perfectly buoyant. In fact, you can see them rest on the bottom of the floor here and not even be floating up. We can't do that. And that's because they breathe everything out of their lungs. So they aren't carrying any oxygen in their lungs. Okay? So you say, then how can they stay underneath the water for 20 minutes or 60 minutes or whatever?
Yeah.
How can they do that?
Yep. Will you tell me, please?
Right? So you got two options, all right? Either you got to have some way to be able to store oxygen,
Right.
or you have to have some way to be able to use it more efficient.
Okay.
And both of those answers are true.
Simultaneously.
Okay?
All right.
So on one hand, they're more efficient with the use of their oxygen because when they go down under, and they're going to be down under, their body starts shutting down some secondary operations. So like digestion and stuff like this, that gets shut down. Everything goes. So there's things that get shut down to not use energy, and they use energy for their muscles and what you need of them.
Yeah.
Right. And stuff like that. So that's one thing that happens, as they start shutting down those secondary functions, bodily functions that aren't needed. Obviously, the brains need it, and they're doing that. So they've got that. And then on the other hand, you say, okay, we would need a scuba tank, right? We'd need that, but they're not going around with a scuba tank.
Yeah. No, I mean, very little bubbles are coming in. Very little.
So the thing is, right, is that they have, so their blood, okay, so if they're not storing oxygen in their lungs, it's got to be stored in their blood.
Right.
All right. And the benefit of storing oxygen in your blood is that blood is a liquid. It's not a gas. So the oxygen gets stored much more compressed, and it's held in the blood, which is a liquid. So now it's not burning. So isn't that an awesome design?
Yeah, it makes sense.
So their blood by weight, they have 3 times more blood in their system by weight than we do. So if your son weighs 40 pounds or 80 pounds and he weighs 80 pounds, he's going to have 3 times more blood in his system to be able to do that.
That's incredible.
Their blood as well, they can carry 10 times more oxygen in their blood than we have. Okay? So does that kind of explain how you can go from a 2 minutes up to 20?
Well, it also makes sense. Maybe, I'm not a scientist, but when you're under like they live in the sea, there's pressure, there's water pressure. I would imagine that has an effect on the condensing of blood and the condensing of the gas in their bloods and all that. So it makes sense that is part of their
Right. And so from that standpoint, there's things we could talk about with the pressure, because that does start compressing things, right? Their lungs actually collapse when they're going down.
Which would make sense why they expel their gases and like submarine.
Having their gases expelled as well helps them, because if you know, right, when we come up out of the ocean, we can get the bends. If we come up too fast, they don't have that issue, because they don't have all the oxygen in their blood and their lungs.
And all that.
So it doesn't convert and everything this until they get further up and everything this, and so that's when they don't have that issue.
Yeah.
So you see, design.
They don't have any issues. They're perfectly designed.
They're perfectly designed for what they do. Yeah. Right. So another thing that I think is awesome is that whenever we're studying these animals, and it happens every time, I see babies or infants or in the womb animals, I see some design features there that are protective.
Yeah.
That to me screams that the creator favors life.
Sure.
He protects that. Sure. And especially on the youngest ones. So like I said, in when they dive underwater, it shuts down all these secondary features rather, and keeps the primary, right? So if it's a female and she's pregnant, the blood flow doesn't stop going to the womb to where the baby is. Right. So that's saying that God is saying, the creator is saying, this is not a secondary thing.
Sure.
This is essential.
Yeah.
This is primary.
Yeah. Right. And I designed it this way, and I put it in that way. There's nothing you can do to change it.
And so he does that to be able to protect these things, because it's just like, no, this is important. Get oxygen.
Yeah.
So, is that cool?
Yeah. I'm thinking of I don't know why I had this. We're talking about creation, evolution, but I'm just picturing what they say, a fish jumped out of the water and became a lizard and all that. I'm picturing a fish who's perfectly designed to swim, being on land, and thinking, and then having a thought a predator wouldn't absolutely destroy that. Even if he did get out of the water, that species of fish that got out of the water would instantly be food.
If they don't predators, but see, the thing is, what they'll say is that the predators haven't been involved.
Yeah,
no predators. So no predators.
That's convenient.
So that's where they would catch you, all right? But from that standpoint, you're right. But from their standpoint, they're looking at it and saying, but look, if you can get up on land, now you have additional food source. So then that animal actually that would be a beneficial feature. So they could say, hey, where do you get that information from? How do you ever go from gills? See, they don't have gills. That would be the third option, right? With them being able to swim underwater, is if they had gills that could actually take oxygen out of it, but they don't have them.
Yeah, face. How are you doing?
and that's because God's designed them efficient.
Look at that thing. That's cool. Yeah, yeah. Scott, you're doing an amazing job. Thank you.
No,
Is there anything else you want to add before we?
I don't think so. I think that kind of covers the majority.
You guys have questions. You weren't listening.
By all means, do that.